Hi everyone, Berno here, and
Hello.
this week Helen and I are hijacking Thought for the Day as part of the wave, so that's why you've got Helen here. If you don't know who Helen is, you need to go and see the previous video. Yeah. So Helen, you're not going to introduce yourself now.
Well, I did that yesterday, didn't I? So, yeah, I'm Helen. We'll leave it at that. Watch yesterday's one, and then you know what we're talking about this week.
Yeah. So we kind of highlighted 4 areas of...
We did.
Issues really related to young people, but not just young people. I think young families, younger generations.
Yeah.
And so today, what are we just talking about today?
So, just the way general family life gets in the way of a Sunday morning.
It does, yeah.
I think sort of there's always the tradition, the very big stereotype that it's very difficult to get a teenager out of bed for 9 o'clock for a 9 o'clock service. It definitely seemed that with at my church with some of the church wardens' teenagers.
Oh right, yeah.
they're at church, but they had to get there for something like 8 o'clock in the morning, and they're not desperately happy.
And that's the thing. It's a weekend. You know, you've had a busy week at school. Depending on the age you're at as well, the amount of pressure you face at school with assignments and things.
Yeah.
And so just to have some time off, like on Sunday morning, who wants to wake up early on a Sunday morning?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure sometimes it feels like you get up earlier for church on a Sunday morning than you might do for school.
Yeah, if you've got a lot of services going on, like we've got our 8 o'clock service here, so if you're on a preaching schedule, you start early, don't you? So, these days we don't have to worry about that because it's all streamed, we're all online. So which is brilliant actually because it makes church a lot more accessible.
It's a lot easier to turn up to church in your pyjamas and dressing gown or something if you're watching it online. I know one young family at my church often has our streamed breakfast at 9 service running while they are actually eating their breakfast together as a family around the dining table.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, because that's what works for them and their small boys, and
Yeah, now I know with my 2 little girls, some Sundays are quite hard to just get on and watch the service at home, just because getting them ready and they want to play and they're at home. So it is quite nice to be able to leave home to come to church because they understand that procedure. But then for families who aren't used to coming to church,
it's an entire uprooting of the Sunday. I mean, if Sunday might be the only chance because of work schedules and stuff that you get to spend time together as an actual family unit, it might be the different perhaps the kids are at their dad's or something else like that goes on a Sunday. Or there's the football or the rugby or whatever else, the sports clubs.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things that get people's attention on a Sunday, and then there's church. And I think I'm sure all of us might have felt at one point, it's just a bit annoying that
really
it's
have to
church
give up my Sunday.
Anyway, that's a confession for me. Hopefully you felt like that too.
I'm sure we've all done it. I'm convinced we have.
And so this is the thing. It's Sunday mornings, can be hard, especially if you are not used to church. If you're not used to, it's quite and this is one of the things we'll be getting on later on in the week. The whole tradition around church and everything going on a Sunday. But I think what's brilliant and what we've been forced into now with COVID is streaming, is getting online and being able to. We're a lot more accessible.
Which is fantastic because I've only visited All Saints a few times, but at least you've got the whole sort of flat access, easy access toilets. You haven't got all of those complications. One of my previous churches, the easy to access toilet was upstairs in the sort of the attic above the north aisle. It was a proper working space, but it was not the easiest thing to get a toddler up those stairs.
Goodness, and it shows you that the demographic at church actually, our setup here is very much catered towards the wider demographic. But then we do have families, and we do have families coming to breakfast at 9 and things, and so that's quite great. And I think breakfast at 9 is a big draw for younger families. It's just we don't go to. Well, myself, I don't necessarily go to breakfast at 9 very often, and so sometimes. There's people who are part of the community in All Saints, and I don't even realise that. And so I think that's something we can work on, really, is thinking that through. How do we, with the different services that we got, how do we understand who's within our community, and then how can we as a community reach out to everyone else around us. So, yeah, especially with families and making families feel part of this family we've got here, this community we've got here.
Yeah, and not just you've got that's such a sweet little girl you have, or whatever else, where they get, but just genuinely part of the community, not in a kind of a.
And that takes quite a bit of time and investment, doesn't it? And I think that's one thing we feel hard pressed on is time. Yeah. Anyway, that's kind of just a few really issues we're thinking about, and it'd be really interesting to hear what you think, what your experiences are, what you have to say about it. So please get in touch.
Yeah, and, particularly if you've got thoughts about sort of the older ones. Obviously, Berna has younger children.
Yeah.
My experience, I don't have children of my own, so my experience is always with sort of the wider youth groups and children's groups and stuff. But it's always interesting to know sort of, but what works for you lot as a family? How do you get to church on a Sunday morning?
Yeah. And how can we improve on the things that we might not be doing so well? Because that's the thing, I think we need to always constantly, I think it's really good to strive to improve things, but also we need to recognise what we're doing well. Yeah. And it's a big learning curve with all this all this COVID and streaming business, but I think we're doing really well, and it's provided us some new opportunities for younger generations to engage with us. Great, thank you, Helen.
Thank you.
And I'll catch up with you in the next one tomorrow.
See you next time, tomorrow, indeed. Yep.
Right, well, let's pray.
Yes. Forgot that bit.
Do you want to pray?
No, because I can't think of anything.
I'll pray. Lord, thank you so much that we have this building that we can meet in, that we can come here together. And although things are a bit on hold at the moment, we can still meet each other online. But I pray that you'll help us to think about the younger families out there, the young people, how we as a community, a church community, can be reaching out to the people around us, to these younger generations who are missing in our congregation, Lord. And this is something that we really need to work on as a whole within the country, Lord, not just here at All Saints. So I pray that you'll help us to reach out to all these people, Lord. Amen. Well, thank you very much for joining.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.